Hey everybody, welcome to a extra special edition of PoCommunity as we have the mayor of Port Coquitlam here, Brad West. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining us, Brad.
Thank you for having me. Looking forward to it.
No problem. First off, congratulations. Obviously, you're mayor for a second time around.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm really excited about the next 4 years. The past 4 years, I think, have been an awesome time for our community. I've lived in Port Coquitlam my whole life, so I know it backwards and forwards, every street. And I think PoCo is going through a really exciting period of time right now. There's a sense of excitement, of renewal and revitalization. We're getting new businesses and new amenities, new services, and people are feeling pretty positive about our future. So I'm incredibly grateful to the people of Port Coquitlam for putting their trust and confidence in me for another 4 years, and I'll be working as hard as I can to not let them down.
That's awesome, and obviously, like you said, trust and confidence right there because you didn't have anybody step up to even challenge you because I think the positivity behind you and your team has been so great. Even with your counselors, there's only one difference, like
Yeah.
with the addition of Paige Petru, right?
That's right. Yeah, and I think Paige is going to be an awesome addition to our council as well. Like me, she's got a young family, and there's so many young families that are moving to Port Coquitlam every single day when I'm not only at City Hall but just out in the community. I'm at my son's hockey practice or lacrosse or soccer. We're at the parks, the playgrounds. I'm always having parents approach me who have young children, and some of them have lived in PoCo for a long time. Some of them grew up in PoCo, moved away, and then came back when they had their family, or some of them are brand new to the area and moving to PoCo from places like Vancouver, Burnaby, the North Shore, Richmond. And that is such a large demographic in our community, and it's really been a focus of mine. So having another member of council who is at that stage of life and really gets it in terms of what families are looking for and the challenges today. It's not easy to raise a family these days with the cost of living and the demands. Usually both parents having to work, and just everything that you have to navigate. It's a challenge, and so having Paige there who gets that, who sort of represents that voice, I think is going to be a really good addition. And I was really pleased that our entire team was reelected, and reelected with a really strong vote of confidence too. All the incumbent councillors had a very high number of votes, and I think that reflects the support the community has for the direction that we're going. You can't get anything accomplished if you don't have a good team, and we have an incredible team. We work really effectively together, really collaboratively. Different opinions, which is really important and good, different perspectives and different walks of life. But at the end of the day, everyone there wants the very best for PoCo. That's what unites us, and that's what we've been delivering. So, yeah, from my perspective, I was really pleased with the outcome of the election. Would have liked to see more people vote. That's always a
Yeah.
challenge in a municipal election for whatever reason. Not unique to PoCo. You look across the entire province, and turnout is always pretty low in a municipal election. Uh, but overall, I thought it was really positive. A clear message was sent from the community that they like what they see and they want us to keep moving forward.
Yeah, that's awesome. And the fact that you say that there's differences of opinion on your team, but in the end, you guys come to a consensus. I think that's like crucial. And I think it's almost lost in a lot of other places where people think that you have to be one way or the highway to come up with a consensus together,
Yeah.
which is in reality, it's not life.
No, for sure. And a lot of people maybe don't realize that as the mayor, you only have one vote. I'm one vote out of 7 votes on our council. So you have to have the support of your colleagues to be able to achieve what you want to achieve. And so, um, when I think about all the different decisions we've made, over the last 4 years and will make over the next 4 years, everyone has a piece to contribute to that. And, we've had decisions that have been, either changed or modified, or things that, maybe weren't being thought of that come forward because a member of council brings them forward. So it really is a group effort. And the other group that contributes significantly to our success that don't often get talked about is the city staff as well. I mean, at the end of the day, mayor and council come together and they make some decisions, but it falls to our city staff to actually go and deliver, the programs or the initiatives that we've decided upon. And we have an incredible staff at the city of Port Coquitlam. They care deeply about the community. Many of them live in this community, and their commitment to our city has been tremendous. And so I feel that we're very fortunate to have that group with us as well.
Well, like just your staff, you yourself, and just the city of PoCo. I think it's got this notoriety not just locally. I like paying attention. We have members here that were running for council. We have that are involved in politics and stuff. But just your name and the city of Port Coquitlam has been a positive. I think just in the Lower Mainland, there's a lot of talk about how well it's structured and how well it's done with you in power. Um, that said, how you said challenges earlier, and what half of your time as mayor so far is in probably the most difficult part in our lives. I know
Yeah.
we're about almost close to the same age. My question to you is like, how was it with the whole COVID, like the pandemic,
Yeah.
being a mayor of a city with like decisions having to be made that can be quite difficult because you can make one decision and half the population's happy with it and half the population's so angry about it.
Yeah.
How difficult was it being the mayor during this difficult period?
Yeah, it was challenging because, first off, when you run for mayor, you don't have navigating a pandemic on your to-do list, right? Like, I mean, that was not something that was even on my radar in any way, shape, or form when I took office in 2018. Uh, and there's no playbook for it. So, cities do a lot of things well, and they've been doing, certain things for a long time. And so you have a sense of how they're done. This was very different. Um, some of the challenges that I experienced was that uh, the ground was constantly shifting. And I think some people thought maybe that, as local government or as mayor, we would have an inside track on what was coming or a heads up. We were in the same boat as everyone else, in the same boat as, in many respects, like our small businesses,
Yeah.
who were often being blindsided with, new orders saying, you can't do this or you can't do that, or you have to do this or you have to do that. Um, and so we were finding out at the same time as everyone else. So when the provincial health officer made an order or a decision, we found out by watching television
Yeah.
and seeing it on the news, and then trying to be like, okay, so how do we deal with this? Um, so, and then certainly as the pandemic, continued on, and people, I think, were questioning a lot of the decisions that had been made, or the orders that were being made, and often would come to the local government as being the level of government that's most accessible to people. One of the challenges there was just the different responsibilities and jurisdictions and powers that exist. Um, you know, as a municipal government, we take all of our marching orders from the provincial government, and the federal government. So um, it, it puts you in this situation where you're not making the decisions, but the decisions are filtering down, and you're trying to deal with it at a community level, where people are struggling, individually, within their families and friends and community groups, and so it was a really challenging time, just on that piece of it. not even to then touch upon what it meant to the city. I mean, there was a period of time where um, you know it came into sharp focus what was this going to mean for the city's finances and our budget. Now, this is where I think our city really distinguished itself, because we have managed our budget and taxpayers' dollars so responsibly, and we had such a strong foundation that we were in a position where we could weather this storm, where some other cities were, sounding the alarm. I think the now former mayor of Vancouver, Candy Stewart, went on TV and said that their city was going to go bankrupt
Yeah.
and they need to be bailed out. We were never in a position like that. In fact, we were in such a strong position, we were able to do some things to try and help people through the pandemic, because you had thousands of people out of work, businesses shut down. So, we went through a period of time where we were the only city to freeze property taxes. We extended due dates. We waived penalties and late fees. We did everything within our power just to make life a little bit easier for people. And I think that was appreciated by folks. They saw that we were making that effort. And again, we were a leader in that. There were not a lot of other cities that did that. So, on that front, again, really challenging, but I can look back and be quite proud of the action that we took. And then the last thing I'll just touch upon is, some of the creative and innovative things that we did as well. We were the first city in Metro Vancouver to make it legal to enjoy an adult beverage in our parks. Now, there were lots of people who were enjoying adult beverages in our parks long before we made it legal, but we did that really quickly, recognizing that more and more people were going outdoors to be able to connect. And that's worked out so well. It's been incredibly popular. It's meant that our parks have really come alive in many ways. I've seen weddings in our parks. There's birthday parties, there's anniversaries and retirements and work get-togethers, or just friends coming together to have fun. And so I was really proud of how we did that. And we did that and delivered that within 2 weeks. I think a couple cities, not to throw any shade, but again, I think the city of Vancouver were like studying that for a couple years before they were able to make a decision. Again, we really quickly went to our local businesses and said, we want to do everything we can to help you survive this period. So, the patios, the use of city and public space, sidewalks, all of these things that you know we said, do it, and don't worry about you know fees, or 20-page forms, or signing your life away. We just said, let's do it and figure it out, because we know at this moment that's what you need to be able to keep your doors open. So um, i'm I'm really pleased that we are past all of that, because the hardest part, I think, was the community isolation, because Port Coquitlam is a community that really likes to come together, and we like our events and our celebrations, and we have a lot of them. And the hardest part was not being able to do those. And so now that we're able to, it's been great to see the community come together to celebrate what we love most about PoCo.
Yeah, it's impressive, man. It really is because uh, like we just talked about it. It was a really, really challenging period of time, and for you to come out of it with like you did all these things right, it shows because with the election, with just how your team has stayed intact, and you, as the mayor, had no challengers. It just showed that like even the people that would maybe consider to run as a mayor saw the positives that you brought, and that it was the one in this time that's been. I mean, it's a hectic period, and it's a
Mhm.
very anger filled period of time in the world where it seems that people want change no matter if it's good or bad. Like they just want
Yeah,
change because it was such a hostile period that out of it you guys came out positive,
yeah,
and people are looking at the city of Port Coquitlam positively, even with it's not completely gone, the pandemic, but it's just you've come out of a crazy time where not many people are positive at all,
Yeah.
and you came out and brought this community a positivity, and that's huge, man.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And I ascribe that to being really rooted in the community. I think that there is a tendency for elected officials who I think most, start off with really good intentions, and most being fairly grounded. But when you get in office, there is the pull, into almost living in a bubble. um, and I see that with a lot of politicians that I interact with. I think for whatever reason, I mean, probably our political culture, and maybe some of the attractions that exist, but people can um, lose focus uh, and lose touch. And what I think I've always tried to do is, and I think our team does, is stay really grounded and focused on Port Coquitlam. Um, and it's easy because it's 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 real, it's normal, it's organic, it's who we are. Um, you know, I'm yes, I serve an important role in the city as mayor, but you know, I'm still Brad West, who's lived here my entire life. Went to school here, played hockey here, and continue to be involved in all of those things. So, you know, I have, probably 100 interactions a day with people. Um, you know, uh, at the ice rink or the soccer field, and I think staying in having that connection to the community really keeps you grounded and focused. And so our team does that really well. We're not above the community; we're part of the community,
Yeah.
and so throughout the whole period, we were very much you know listening to what people are talking about, what they're saying, how they're feeling, and then turning our minds to how can we address that. You know, Sometimes people like to make serving the public and elected office something that is incredibly complex, and only the most brilliant minds could possibly do it. At the end of the day, um, it's about being a representative of the people, and that means you gotta listen. Um, and the second piece is that you then got to take action, and that's the two things that I think have distinguished Port Coquitlam and our leadership and our council, is that we do listen, and then just as importantly, we do take action. You mentioned how there's a lot of frustration out there, and I can sense that in our province, in our country, in the world. And I ascribe part of it to the fact that people, I think, are tired of just listening to the same sort of empty promises over and over and over again. The issues that are confronting our communities and societies are not really new issues. They're ones that, we've talked about, for a long time. And I think that if there is frustration amongst the public, a lot of it is warranted, um, because our politicians at a number of levels, you know, they talk and they talk and they talk and they talk and then they talk some more. Um, we never seem to get to the point of doing something,
Yeah.
taking some action. And so we've really tried to focus on results and outcomes. And I think it served us well. And I hope the public sees it. And that's part of why they feel strongly about the job that we're doing, because they know that, we're not just going to pay lip service. We're going to actually do everything we can to try and improve an issue.
Yeah, I think it's something like youth of today and just young adults. The old school cut and dry politician isn't working for them.
Yeah.
That's not what they need. They need transparency. They need someone who's real and someone who's more like themselves. And I think we're at this weird hybrid period where you have a lot of that, but then you also have the old guard that
Right.
that still has a lot of power and a lot of they're in charge of a lot of stuff,
Hmm.
but there's this youth like surgeons coming in, and like
Right.
you yourself, you're a young mayor. There's a lot of mayors that are they're late in their political stages.
For
You're
sure.
young, you're still like you have plenty of time to go forward, and it's refreshing because yeah, it's you said it. You work for the people. You work for your city. I think a lot of politicians get away from that, and they think that it's especially with the last couple of years, it's a lot more of they feel more power
Hmm.
and they feel in charge of the people instead of in reality the people are in charge of them.
100%. And the only interest that an elected official should be serving is the public interest. Um, and you have to really believe that in your soul when you get into this line of work, because there are lots of different special interests or private interests that might try and pull you off track. So I think if you're going to get into elected office, you have to have a really clear sense of why you want to do this, and who you're responsible to. Um, and if you have that, I think you're a good part of the ways there of being an excellent elected representative, because that will keep you on track.
Yeah. I know like small businesses in PoCo, you brought them up earlier. If you just walk down Shaughnessy Street, it's a majority small businesses.
Yeah.
It's just in the last couple of years, it's been small businesses were affected more than anybody. But like, and here at Fountainhead Network, we're essentially just a community of small business owners, right?
Yeah.
How important is small business to Port Coquitlam?
Uh, Small local businesses in Port Coquitlam, I mean, to me, that's really like the beating heart of the city. Um, you nailed it. Walk down Chauncey Street. Um, it's those small, independently owned businesses where the owner is the person who you're going to run into when you open that door.
Yeah,
And they're incredibly hardworking. Um, and and I think it's wonderful that we have such a diversity of those businesses. Um, you know, I don't want to be in a community where it's just sort of a uh, faceless multinational corporate chain after corporate chain, because I think you do lose sort of a community soul when that's what you have. So we're really fortunate. So from my perspective, one of our biggest priorities has to be to contribute to the success of those local businesses, um, because um, it's it's an incredibly challenging time for them to be in business, and we need to have their back, because I just think about like all of our sports teams, all of our community groups, all the positive things that happen in this city. um, you know Inevitably it's a local business that's behind the scenes supporting them, sponsoring them, so they're really just part of the community, and the community needs to have their back. So, one of the things that we've been working on is our downtown revitalization. And, that is about adding new energy and vitality to our downtown, to support those local businesses, to make, not just downtown Port Coquitlam, but particularly downtown Port Coquitlam as really a go-to spot in the community where you know you can come down with your family. There's places to eat, be entertained. There's shopping. That you can actually go down there and spend a day and have lots of different things to do. And people point to different examples within Metro Vancouver that might be similar and say kind of like this or kind of like that. And so some people are like, well, we're trying to create something that kind of looks like Fort Langley, or, some people point to like Yale Town or Gastown, but, from my perspective, I want it to be a unique made in PoCo type experience. And it started on McAllister, where we've we've redone that street, really beautified it. It's a much more pedestrian-centered experience as well, because we want people to come downtown, get out of their vehicles, be able to safely get around the downtown on foot, and have all of these different options. So that's going to be really good for our local business community. And it's the type of thing that people in Port Coquitlam have been asking for a long time. When they want to, go out for dinner or drinks, or you know, um, have a group of friends and go out and do something fun. They don't want to have to leave the city to find that.
Yeah.
And in some instances, that is what happens. And so, providing people more options to do all of those things right in their own community, right at their own doorstep, I think is really exciting. And so, a lot of groundwork has been laid in the last 4 years. And then this coming 4 years, I think you're going to see it come to fruition. I think people are going to be incredibly impressed. Um, like I said, it's starting on McAllister. There's a new development that's going in there. It's going to have a new home for PoCo Bowl, because unfortunately that building is at the end of its life, but we didn't want to lose that. So you're going to have that experience, um, you know, jazzed up a little bit as well, with some new places to eat and drink. You're going to have a really beautiful public square with restaurants and patios, and cafes and shops kind of spilling out into the square. So it's going to be a very cool experience. It's going to be right here in Port Coquitlam, and we're a couple years away from that coming to fruition. So that's exciting. And all of that, again, is about supporting local business in the community, and making sure that we're bringing people to them, and that they're getting the support they need to stay in business. And I also think too, as you attract more and new businesses, you get a real synergy type going as well. I mean, we've seen that in PoCo and the way we've had the growth of our craft breweries in the past 4 years that I've been mayor. We've a number of craft breweries have come in. We, purposely created bylaws and regulations that made it attractive to them, give them the support they need. So, anyways, that's just one example. There's a lot more, but it's a long-winded answer to your question.
No, that's
that
perfect, man.
that those businesses are, I think, really make up the heart and soul of the community, and so it's a priority for us to do everything we can to support them and contribute to their success.
No, that's awesome, man. And like that's a historic area too. That Port
Yeah,
Coquitlam area is there's a lot of history there. Like, you're comparing it to other places, but in reality, it's its own entity that's
for
been.
sure.
I mean, I'm not Port Coquitlam born and raised, but I'm Coquitlam like pretty much born and raised, and it's just that center of Port Coquitlam has always been like
It
historic.
it's so distinct. We're very fortunate because if you look around the rest of the region, there aren't many cities that have a distinct downtown. But we have a distinct and unique downtown, that again it's compact, enough that you can get around it on foot, pushing a stroller, whatever it is, right? And so this whole project that we have around our downtown revitalization is about um, taking what is already special and unique about it, and then just adding to it. So it's that real balance between maintaining what is already so attractive about it, adding to it by bringing in additional options for people to again eat and drink and be entertained, make it easier to get around, so improve some of the pedestrian connections, um, and just make it a place that is lively and has live music happening. As much as I do love downtown PoCo, if you do go there in the evening, it can be pretty quiet,
Yeah.
right? So it's about some energy, some vitality, arts, culture, live music. And at the end of the day, it's about creating a cool spot that people want to go to.
Yeah.
And that's what we're doing.
Well, that's awesome, man. If people want to like figure out or find out kind of like future plans for Port
Mhm.
Coquitlam or what your team is up to and what you guys got planned, where can they go?
Definitely a great place to start is the city's website at portcoquitlam.ca. Lots of information on there about the downtown and all of the different things that the city is up to. But the other thing too is like both myself as mayor and the city in general is really accessible. So if you have a question, don't hesitate to ask. People can email me at westb@portcoquitlam.ca. They can phone me at 604-927-5498. I spend a huge amount of my time as mayor talking to residents, answering their emails, speaking to them on the phone, chatting with them in person. So again, getting back to the earlier point, my job is to represent the people of Port Coquitlam. That's who I work for. They are my boss.
Yeah.
And so I really enjoy the interaction with our community members. And so people shouldn't hesitate if they have questions, if they have concerns, if they have ideas to reach out. And they can reach out to me, they can reach out to members of council, they can reach out and speak to city staff who, have a lot of the technical expertise in different areas. But, you know, I see the volume of interaction between our residents and the city. Every effort is made to answer people's questions and follow up. So, um, city website, great place. All of the city's social media channels try and put lots of information out there. But if you can't find it, and all else fails, contacting myself or City Hall should get you what you're looking for.
Well, thank you, man. Thank you so much for joining us today. Because like in reality, this podcast is called PoCommunity. You are the face of Port Coquitlam. So the fact that you came onto this podcast that's essentially for Port Coquitlam, I appreciate it so much. I know the audience will appreciate it. And like it shows right there that we reached out to you. You came on the show. You are you respond to people. You respond to your people. So I appreciate it so much, man. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Well, thank you for having me on. And I just want to say to you how much I appreciate what you do. I mean, this platform, this podcast, getting the word out about Port Coquitlam, about businesses that are in our community, about things that are happening in our community, about people in our community. That's an amazing thing. We have so many positive stories to tell as a community. We have, I'm just amazed at the creativity that exists in Port Coquitlam. The businesses who are doing things that are like leading edge, world leading. People who are doing such positive things for society, charitable things. Like it just the list goes on and on. There are amazing stories to tell from Port Coquitlam, and I really appreciate that you're taking the time to share those stories because that's really important, and it I think gives people an incredible sense of pride in Port Coquitlam. So uh, you thanked me, and I appreciate
Thanks,
that,
man.
but I want to thank you for
Thank you
what
so
you're
much.
doing.
Thank you. I appreciate it, man. Thank you so much. And thank you, everybody, for joining us today. It's been an honor having the mayor of Port Coquitlam, Brad West, on the show today. So thanks again, man.
Thank you.